Ladies and gents, welcome back. This is the live show. If you're catching this later on, welcome to the pre-recorded live show. Anyway, welcome in everybody and welcome back. And want to thank everybody for the awesome support today. That was great. A great turnout for today's correction video of all things. Made sure to wear my naive hat for that video. But today I had to run a correction because I got some facts wrong in a story. I was misled, essentially. I was put into a position of reading what looked like a legit article, but turned out that some of the info was no good in the article. Not just the date. For anyone who just thought it was the date, please go to the links in the description where people who can talk about it on websites that allow for that kind of conversation. That's going on there. Good evening from Manitoba. Welcome in, Chippy's ATV from Manitoba. Welcome. I love these Friday night streams. They're a lot of fun, actually. I've been having a ton of fun with these and hanging out with you guys and just talking about a lot of the stories that I don't end up getting to. And it's really hard to get an idea of what is going to be the best thing to publish as videos throughout the week. So I mean, I try my best, and anything I can get like a clear, concise grasp, a good hold on for story-wise, then I'll tend to make a video on that. Big Clyde. Can we have babies? Well, I've got babies. I've already got babies. I got 2 babies. And yeah, they're fantastic babies. I just said goodnight to my babies so I can come in here and chat with you guys. And my mic stand has been getting squeaky. I don't know if you guys can hear that over the past week or so, and that's been driving me. I need to get some of the old lubricants out and get on that. Just, usually doing the usual waiting for a bunch of people to come in, get the notification that I'm actually live before moving on to too many stories. But yeah, love to have a little bit of conjecture in the beginning here. While we're waiting for people to come, who are the early comers? Where are you guys from? Just put in the comment section where you reside from, where you chatting from in the planet. I've noticed so many Canadian audience members. Lots and lots of people from Canada. It's amazing. And then lots of people from around the world as well. But it's something else to have such a large demographic from Canada. Normally, when you do the YouTubes, you get it from a big US base. Yep, lots of Canada here. Sask, Quebec, New Brunswick, Vancouver, Indiana. There you go. Some Americans. Niagara Falls, Ontario. Amazing. Edson, Alberta. I'm from near Sarnia on the shores of Lake Huron. I know the place. It's beautiful. If you stay on the right side of the water, you just got to stay away from the Lake St. Clair side. It gets kind of gungy down there. I grew up in Windsor, so I know Detroit River swimming. Risks some of us take. You'll be glad to know I don't want to have your baby. Okay, I'm glad to know that. Thanks. Thanks. Again, I already have babies. I've got 2 beautiful babies. Amazing. Gotta tell you guys, I'm addicted to this SodaStream water. I put a lemon wedge in my SodaStream, and it's the greatest thing ever. It's sometimes a fight to get that lemon wedge back out, but it's delish. It's really nice. What are some of the things that have happened throughout this week? Well, we all got bombarded with everyone was paying attention to the convoy, and then things happened in Ukraine, and then everyone's paying attention to Ukraine, and then Will Smith smacked a comedian, and nobody cares about anything else now, and that's all people are talking about. And I find it a bit of a ridiculous story. I covered it obviously because it was like huge in the morning, so it was there. I'm gonna make a video about it real quick. But here we have on Twitter today, Deadline Hollywood has the Academy has accepted the resignation of a heartbroken Will Smith after Oscar slap of Chris Rock. I'm not heartbroken over Will Smith. I'm not at all. I know there's a lot of people who have the take that poor Will Smith, and they took advantage of the alopecia thing. It doesn't seem like Chris Rock knew anything about the alopecia, and it seems that it was probably a joke that was written by a writer, not actually him. So a lot of people saying fake slap. I don't know about that. I think it was a narcissistic man who's been on top for a very long time. Nobody cares about the Oscars. Nobody cares that he got one. And yeah, that's it. Clyde, did you know Robert Malone put everything on the table in regards of the WEF? No, I didn't know if he put on anything on the table about... What does Dr. Robert Malone know about the WEF? I didn't know that. I'm going to have to look that up. But yeah, so, I mean, again, celebrity gossip, news kind of stuff. This is just really not my cup of tea. I don't care at all. I do care about comedians, though. Like, comedy's always been a thing for me. I love comedy. I think comedy is great. And the second you cross that line, and this was my initial reaction to it, was how could you go up on stage? You're supposed to be like this big respectable guy that everybody looks up to in Hollywood, and he goes up and he slaps somebody on stage. Like, that's just enabling bad behavior, if you ask me. I don't agree with it. I think he crossed the line when you go into physical violence. Yeah, criticize him later if you didn't like the joke. Do that. But I mean, way worse jokes have been made. Ricky Gervais calling what's his nuts a pedo, essentially, right to his face. Like that. That's where we're at. That's where we're at with that. And I don't care. I really, at the end of the day, don't care. I always thought Will Smith was a little bit of an overrated actor. Maybe that's a bad take. Maybe people aren't gonna like that take. But he plays Will Smith, and like if you watch a Will Smith movie, it's like it's this story featuring Will Smith, and it's always like maybe Will Smith isn't gonna be a great character in that movie, and that's how it was for like the Suicide Squad and a few other ones. Wasn't into it. Anyway, I'm gonna move along. I'm not that interested in Will Smith. It's not really my cup of tea. But here's something that I found interesting. And just cringe factor. So we all know the news about Disney and the anti-grooming law from Florida. So they were calling it the Don't Say Gay law. So in return, people started calling it the anti-groomer law. Like, what are you, a groomer? You want to groom kids? Because that's pretty much what people are. I mean, what other motive would you have to like want to do that with kindergarten through grade 3? Give me a break. Anyway, so that was a hot topic. So this came out today. Pixar's same-sex scene edit in Lightyear just opened the door for LGBTQAI plus minus whatever you positive, negative. So here's my hot take. Don't care, for one. I'm probably not gonna watch it because, for one, it's not Tim Allen, so Buzz Lightyear is dead to me. But there's all these kids that they want to push this stuff at kids. I think it's appalling. I can't agree with it at all. I don't want my kids watching this stuff. So I'm not gonna, when they put that stuff in. But here's my challenge to Disney Pixar. Put that stuff in and make sure it doesn't get censored out of the version that goes to Saudi Arabia and goes to China. And, you know, if they have the cojones to push that on our kids in the West, push it on China. Push it on Saudi Arabia. Push it on Iran. No, they won't. They won't. So, I mean, what are they really making a stand? Are they really making a stand? I don't think so. I think it's just, yeah, it's a bunch of bollocks in my opinion, and I'm not for it. I'm not for it. It's, if you want to watch movies about that stuff, that's fine. That's up to you. Don't try to show it to kids. And that's kind of my opinion on that. Leave the kids alone. That's right. Give them a chance to be mentally healthy. Not every kid wants to be brainwashed. No kids don't want to be brainwashed. You know? And like, I have a hard enough time with like the stuff that I watched when I was growing up. And it's hard when you get taught this, like, so I watched a lot of G.I. Joe and stuff when I was a kid. And it no joke, it leads you to the point of always thinking that there's a good guy and a bad guy in things, and not really realizing that there's like nuance to situations. But I'll tell you what, the fictions that the media make about the bad guys of the day, at least G.I. Joe was a little more clever in their writing and wrote a better backstory for the Cobra. At least they had a better backstory, because holy cow, the media today, they're just lazy. Clyde, your Rumble stream is not going. I haven't figured out how to do the multi-stream thing. I was looking that up, and Viva Fry uses StreamYard. I meant to look that up in the past couple of days, but I haven't got that going yet. So I could get that multi-stream going if I join StreamYard. I use OBS and then I stream directly to YouTube at the moment. So we'll see. I could probably get something going for that. Would you guys prefer that I do it a multi-stream? So I'm sure some of you guys prefer watching on Rumble now, because a lot of people are used to watching over on Rumble, because a lot of people are moving their stuff over. But people aren't moving over entirely, and people are just multi-streaming and then doing exclusives on Rumble where they know when they know YouTube's not gonna allow stuff. Rumble's great. Yeah, I've been mirroring all my stuff on Rumble. There's a bunch of people. I think close to 2,000 people following over on Rumble. It's hard to get people to move over to other techs, the alternative tech stuff. Where are you in BC, Clyde? Should I disclose where I'm at? My location? Should I? No, people who know me know. I live in Squamish. It's just outside of Vancouver. It's just north of Vancouver. It's on the coast. I live right on the water. Like, my house isn't on the water, but I live a stone's throw from the ocean and the beautiful, beautiful rivers that go through this town. It is beautiful. It's great. Sorry, I had to get back to the chat and get it going. Squeamish, yeah. That's the thing here in Squamish. There's bumper stickers that go around. People put them on their car. It says, "Squamish sucks, don't come." Yeah, exactly. Squamish sucks, don't come. Don't come. You wouldn't even like it here. Not at all. It's busy. It's getting busy as up here. Increasingly more and more busy. Let me get the crappy Buzz Lightyear off my screen, because that is just annoying. I have something I want to watch with you guys. This is fun viewing time. We already watched this if you watched my video earlier this week on the exact subject, but I got more to add to it because I only did a short video, and it was fun shooting that. And a lot of people enjoyed it, and there was lots of laughs in the comments, but let's all have a laugh together again because it gets funnier. We have conservative MP Rachel Thomas. She had this thing to say on well, we'll just play it in a second. But here, Stephen Chase, worth noting, conservative MP Rachel Thomas on Monday in the House of Commons. Excuse me. So I can't even say his words without feeling ill. In the House of Commons said many Canadians, in quotes, hold the view that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau fits the definition of a dictator. She did not cite a poll. She didn't cite a poll.
Dictator. I just did a quick review in the dictionary. So according to the Oxford Dictionary, a dictator is a ruler with total power over a country, typically one who has obtained control by force. There are many Canadians that would hold the view that this does apply to Mr. Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada. And it is up to, I apologize for using his name.
I thought that was so funny.
And it's actually up to the Canadian people to determine that. And they'll be determining that at the next election. Now, here's the problem. Thank you for that.
I'm just expecting Rodney Dangerfield, oh, tough crowd. She's cracking jokes to people who just don't like her sense of humor, obviously. But yeah, so this guy, Stephen Chase, saying did not even cite a poll because these politicians, they work they do everything based on polls. They don't make a decision. They don't have principles. Try this once. Have principles and stick to them. No, these politicians don't have any of that. They do everything by poll. And that's all they feed everything based off of that. But here's the problem. People don't like pollsters anymore. Most people, maybe people, it seems like only the majority of people that are answering these polls are people on the left because they're just like, I want to, they're the, what if, I wish there was a law people. Like, there should be a law. If people say there should be a law, you need to sit them off to the side and say, you need a timeout. We got enough laws on the books, thanks. There should be a law. So, essentially, they run the whole thing based on these polls. The people that'll answer what kind of mechanic work do you do? I'm an automotive mechanic, licensed in the greater country of Canada. It's Canada-wide licensing now. Anyway, I'm off beat here. Off beat. These guys rule by polls, and the people that answer the polls are the schmarmy types that think everything there should be a law. Oh, I didn't like the way that guy looked at me. There should be a law against looking at people that way. So they always want to see the polls, but the thing is, a lot of people don't answer the phone anymore. Or, hi, would you like to take a survey? Nah. Stop calling me at dinner time. I'm with my kids. Maybe the only type of people that are answering these polls don't have kids or what have you. That's not true, Clyde. Our progressive leaders are clearly strong enough to push their politics the general populace disagrees with. It's not only weak pansy conservatives that poll fallout. It's only the weak pansy conservatives. Okay. That's a fair point. The conservatives are definitely weak. And the thing is, like, I'm not like a solid conservative. I don't vote liberal. I'm not voting NDP. The PPC has been like something that kind of shines for me. But at the same time, the conservatives need to be in opposition, and they're just Anyway, when people call to ask my opinion, I'm usually like, get stuffed. That's kind of my take on the the usual. Or yeah, I give fake answers. Yeah, that's another one. Sorry, Clyde, I didn't mean to distract you. You just did again. But yeah, so the polls, leading by polls, is a terrible way to do things. So, of course, this guy saying, she didn't cite a poll on it if people think he's a dictator. Well, how about like the thousands, like tens, hundreds of thousands of people that went to Ottawa carrying signs that say Trudeau's a dictator? Yeah, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people think that. Anyway, so Viva Fry says, do you concede that many Canadians believe Trudeau fits the definition of a dictator? And so Viva Fry did. Let's do a poll then, shall we? Rosie Barton, Canadians, do you believe that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau fits the definition of a dictator? Please retweet for the broadest sample field. And 81% of 25,664 people voted yes. It's just beautiful. Beautiful when people in aggregate see the schmarminess. And this is why I like Twitter and why I Twitter so you guys don't have to. I get on there because some of this stuff is just funny. It's just funny, the things that happen. But you gotta cut through a lot of schmarmy people. Let me tell you, there's a lot of people. And the hyperbolic chamber that is Twitter is quite the extraordinary thing to witness on a daily. But what else have we seen in Twitterville? Kinsella throwing around the word dictator, unhelpful and corrosive. It's unhelpful, says the Toronto Sun minion Kinsella. Unhelpful. Well, so I replied, instead of throwing around these words, racist, misogynist, fringe minority, sexist, homophobe, white supremacist, bigot, legacy media just being helpful. Someone said, you forgot rapist, Clyde. Oops. The whole world thinks that the media just covers something else. Oh, look over there. Oh, a slap. Yeah, exactly, right? Oh, look at that. Will Smith behaving badly. So Kinsella throwing around the word dictator, unhelpful and corrosive. You can't make this stuff up, folks. It's great. But anyway, so it's just a useless article of like, you shouldn't be saying that. Some people say words, but I don't like the words you said. I'm gonna attempt to shame you. Meanwhile, most people were like, right on. Just not in the active audience in the parliament there. Anyhow, this is what distracts me the most is the trending tab. Like Willow is trending. Why? And then you got to be careful because sometimes there's bad stuff. No, see, it's not. I was expecting Willow because it was a great movie when I was growing up. I loved that movie. Script writes itself. That's correct. She has nice eyes. She's got really nice eyes. Look at that. But yeah, what's the meme of the week? Meme of the week. Oh, I have to go to my channel for that. Let me find some, because I like sharing the memes out to you guys, because that's a lot of fun. That's a lot of fun and a lot of people have been sharing memes in the Discord, and I've been making a habit of the real bangers. I'll post them on YouTube in the communities tab. Oh, there's a new Anything Goes. I love that guy's channel. So let me pop up the communities chat tab and get that up for you guys. For anybody that saw today, this was one that I posted. We're not far off. This is a credit card machine saying card declined. Please delete all tweets that violate your bank's hate speech policies to process the payment. And yeah, I thought that was good. But this was the real banger of the week, I think. If cutting off the Russian pipeline is the best way to cripple the Russian economy, Why did the USA and Canada voluntarily cut off their own pipelines? That'll get you thinking. That'll definitely get you thinking, that one. Perhaps they want to crash our economy. Perhaps indeed. Either they have complete disconnect between domestic and international logic, or this is part of the plan. Great show, Clyde. Do you think Bill 11 will shut you down? I'm not sure what'll happen with Bill 11. So Bill 11 is new regulation for those that don't know about Bill 11. So Bill C11 was Bill C10, and Bill C10 was communications law regulation bill. So it's to add more stuff. Alex Jones was right. I get so distracted by this chat. You guys are great. But yeah, Alex Jones was right. Bill C10 first came out as a piece of legislation that was going to be an add-on to the communications regulation. So anyone who's a broadcaster falls under these regulations. Well, currently I'm not a broadcaster. I mean, in any real sense, I'm just a YouTuber. I'm a person who makes videos on the internet. And they had this very vague language that if given to the right judge could have arguments could have been made to say, no, but mom, grandma who posts on Facebook, she's now a publisher and she falls under this regulatory body. And that's where it got really scary. And that's where people were really nervous about it. The language is too vague. So they kicked the bill back. And then it came back as Bill C11 with hardly any modifiers to it. And my original argument to this bill was, yeah, well, if it fails, they're going to come back with Bill C12 and Bill C12, 13, and then 14 and 15 until they get their way. That's essentially what it is. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to make anyone who does content on the internet fall under the under this clause of Communications Act. So a lot of people's fears are Canadian content laws. So is YouTube going to change in Canada forever? Possibly. If for most people in the world that deal with like oppressive governments, they get VPNs. I think this is just the fastest way to sell VPNs in Canada that has ever happened. This is the best reason to get a VPN. Yeah, until that's illegal. So like in China, there's the Great Chinese Firewall. That's what they call it. They call it the Great Firewall. Where you and people get arrested for using VPN. So I'm not sure how far they want to go with it. How it's going to affect content creators, because again, this all has to be defined in court cases now. So people need to, or regulatory body needs to try to regulate somebody and then have them sue to get the regulation to not apply to them, and then the court decides and yada yada. Yeah, should not have to go through with this. I think Clyde, out of all the channels I'm subscribed to, your channel is poised to grow the most from the Canadian content bill, as your audience is Canadians. Well, so it's possible. It's possible that I might be poised to grow more. Viva Fry raised the same point when he was talking about this. It might be good for people like us, or it might just drown us out entirely. So, I mean, there's a phenomena in Canada, and I'm sure all you that are part of the Canadian audience, and for those that aren't part of the Canadian audience, would understand the idea of bands that only have ever made it in Canada. And a lot of it has to do with Canadian content laws and how hard it is to break into the American market once you're already like reached a threshold in Canada. I'm sure there's some like ins and outs of the industry that I'm not familiar with, but you have these like anomalies of people who are really big in Canada. And the Tragically Hip is tragically one of the biggest stories of that. There's so many bands and stuff that we know of because of Canadian content laws that made bands really big, and then they just didn't make it outside of the Canadian market. But that's the thing with Canadian content. All I can say is Canadian content made TV suck. It made radio suck. For me, all of that stuff bites. I don't really care much for it. Yeah, that's it. My content is satisfactory game streaming. I'm going to get really bad engagement numbers when my stuff is pushed to non-gamers. You know what? My channel was just, me and my kids and talking about automotive stuff, and my wife, kids, automotive, doing that kind of stuff. I've played Satisfactory, the game, a lot. I streamed that a bunch. That didn't take off, but then all of a sudden news took off. So you never know what'll take off for you. But yeah, Bill C11, again, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare for creators. More regulation doesn't help us. The people that want this regulation is the industry itself, and that's got to tell you something. There's such a thing called regulatory capture, and regulatory capture is essentially when, well, who put it best? I think it was it Murray Rothbard? I can't remember who said it. Somebody tell me if they know the quote. But when a market's regulated, the first thing to be bought and sold is the regulators. Like, that's exactly the way it goes. So now it's going to be lobby groups for preferential treatment and all that. Yeah, Bill C10. It became Bill C11 that got passed. But yeah, when you regulate a market, the first thing bought and sold is the regulators. So now anybody who wants to do well has to essentially game the system, spend money on lobbyists, and then get preferential treatment. It sucks, and that's the way it is. But again, that's why Canadian TV sucks. It's terrible. It's not good at all. It's not good at all. What other memes have we got? Oh, this one made me laugh a lot. Speaking of markets, this was Economic Genius. It's much better to make a profit than to make a loss, because ultimately you make more money of a profit than you do out of a loss. ABC News Breakfast. Oh, too bad if anyone who missed that show. There was some solid advice going on. Definitely some solid advice happening there. The memes just keep rolling in. I'm loving them. Keep on sending them in. If you're not yet part of the Discord, the link is down in the description down below. Check out the link. If you're not familiar with Discord, it takes a minute to get used to. It's another social media platform. It's a little more up close and intimate and personal. It's chat servers. Anyway, if you're not familiar with it, it takes a minute to get familiar with, but it's basically just chat rooms. And then you can have like group voice chats and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, we have a Discord server, a lot of cool people in there, and a lot of people sharing memes, lots of them, and it's lots of fun. But what other stories was I going to get into here? I wanted to talk about some things. So I had to make a correction, and that had to do with that study that turned out not so great. And appreciate you guys all for your kind words today when I made this correction. Apparently, a lot of people are not used to if somebody reports on something that turns out to be not the case of what they were reporting on, and then they make a correction. People are not used to that happening. So there was a lot of thumbs ups in the chat or in the comment section below that video. But yeah, I sent people over to this video to get better information, especially in concern with the study, the paper that I talked about. And Dr. Harvey Reich goes into very good detail about why it was that paper was poo-poo. I don't know what words I can say here about this in particular. So I'm just going to keep that one very vague. But yeah, in the correction video, there's a link in the description to go to this video and a timestamp for when you can see. But I recommend you watch the whole video because it's a great video. Viva Fry always does lots of good stuff. Yeah, oops. Yeah, lots of oopsies. Oopsie doopsie. Oopsie doopsie poopsie. But you know what? Coming clean is, and like I said it in my video, coming clean is the best cure, right? It's like I said, it's when you really are innocent of something and everything looks like it was you. That's when you need the trust the most. So like little things that you make mistakes about, the best thing to do is just come clean straight up right away. And then when it does matter, people will trust you because you don't want to lose people's trust. That'll hurt people. That hurts you the most. So yeah, definitely stay away from that. But hey, everybody, happy April Fool's Day. April Fools, our government today with April Fools. Did anyone go to the pump today as opposed to yesterday and see the difference in price? So I went to the pump yesterday because, yeah, the day before a tax hike is coming is the day that you go purchase some fuel. Clyde, you got to play us Exit tune on the piano. Oh, like time it and then take off out of here with a tune. Maybe I said in the last stream that I was gonna mic up the piano, but I never got around to it. So I'll have to work on that. Yeah, carbon tax day. Woo, everybody. So what was this? 144. I wish I was paying that per liter per today. Same here, 176. But you're not writing what it was yesterday. So yeah, Jeff, yeah, I paid 189.9 yesterday. That's what it was. I didn't see what it was on the way home today. Filled up in Alberta yesterday at 165, but today it was 152. What? How did it go down? What? Oh, what? They put a new tax on and then it just went down. I bet you they're assuming that people are just not gonna buy gas today, so they just dropped the initial price of gas. 193 and still holding strong. Oof. It was $2.09 a few weeks ago during the big splody over in Ukraine. That, yeah, I mean, it spiked massively. But yeah, this is our tax. But hey, you know what? The MPs are going to be holding out pretty good with their raises. They'll be able to pay the offset for all the new fuel prices they'll be paying. Some of them getting, what is it? The average, so this the MPs get a raise the same day that we all get a tax. And they voted for that, which is just astonishing. April Fools, everybody, you get to pay more money at the pump at the same day that the same people that made that possible gave themselves a raise. Incredible. Yeah, Skippy Socks, he got $21,000 more a year. That was his raise. I think the average was 12,000. For backbench MPs, they say. I don't know what's a backbench MP, but backbench MPs, like the little guys, the wee ones, the MPs, they got $10,000 more this year on top of the over $100,000 salaries that they got. I honestly think that politicians should make the average wage in their district. Is that not fair? They should get their average. Unless they have to live full time in Ottawa, then maybe give them a bump. But if they're not helping their constituency, why should they get anything more out of that? But I digress. I think they're all overpaid. I think they're all significantly overpaid for what it is that they do. But yeah, that didn't stop them from increasing the carbon tax. So the carbon tax going up on April 1st, despite record gas prices, just outrageous. And then fertilizer prices surging. See, here it says 43% to fresh record as supplies tighten. I've heard that the amount that farmers are paying by the ton went up like 3 times the price. Now this is not going to help. This is not going to help with food shortage issues that we've already considered were on their way. So food shortages, we already knew were going to be a thing. Food shortages across, well, everywhere. I mean, if you think about it, think about the situation over in Ukraine. Now, they put sanctions on Russia. Of those sanctions on Russia, they're hurting us more, right? These economic sanctions on Russia, if you look at the ruble, they took a big dip, but they're already in recovery. We're not in recovery. We're not in recovery at all. We're on a sharp decline still. Rumor has it, JT's home got recently renovated for $11 million. I'm not surprised. They're just so out to lunch and disconnected from real people. They just don't see it. They don't get it. But here's the Russian ruble. It almost a full bounce back already. But not us in our economy. We're on our way down. And not only that, because of the sanctions, it's affecting Europe, and European food prices are going to affect our food prices because we're global trading partners with them. If they can't get wheat from Russia, which was their main importer, Russia, and this historically has been the case, right? So Russia historically was the breadbasket of Europe. It currently is the breadbasket of Europe. It was until the Soviet Union, until communism, and then they turned into the largest importer of wheat at the time. And then, then a lot of people starved. And that was horrible. And then communism went away, or at least wasn't quite the same, and became the breadbasket of Europe again. And farmers got going making that stuff and trading with Europe, right? Now with these sanctions, them not trading with Europe, it's only going to create shortages, which the West is going to, farmers in the West are going to, because of the rising prices, they're not going to be able to compete with, people aren't, you know what I mean? Like with rising prices in Europe and rising prices of fertilizer, you're not going to blame the farmers for sending a lot of their crops over to Europe. It's just, it makes a lot of sense. So that's going to create food shortages over here. And especially with fertilizer going up. And then trying to ship the stuff, and you've got carbon taxes and fuel shortages because pipelines have been shut down in North America. This is just a perfect storm of bad stuff. And then again, you have inflation on top of that. Clyde, who plays those instruments behind you? I do. The one, and you'll never not see this again, but that one right there is actually, it's a game controller. It's not actually a guitar. That's from the video game. It's hilarious. It was so funny. I had to put it up on a guitar stand. But obviously, that's all real. And the room's a mess, and it has been for a few months now. And I haven't gotten around to cleaning it. But my kids love playing the instruments too. Even the red one. Even the red one. Actually, my son Daniel loves coming in here and plunking away at that thing. Do I compose? No, I just play around. I just like to play music. It's a lot of fun. I play other people's music, and I never wanted to be a rock star or anything. I just wanted to enjoy the sound of music and playing it. I shy away from playing too much with people because I grew up around a lot of like bands and stuff. And every time I play with my friends, they'd be like, come on, let's start a band. You're so good. Let's do this. No, nope. No, thanks. Bands kind of turn me off. Anyway, moving on. I'm pretty good at talking about politics and news, as you can tell. Canada's oil industry at odds with Trudeau over new 2030 climate plans. These 2030 climate plans are such a pipe dream. They're the biggest pipe dream. I did a video on it this week. That's awesome. I have a channel, all of my compositions. Nice. I'll have to check that out. Let me hold on. I'll have to check that out after. I will. Yeah, so I did a video about this climate bill, and oh my god, is it bad. Calgary, Alberta, Reuters. And this is the funny thing. You go to Reuters and they tell you got to buy a subscription, and then you just Google the title, and then some other websites aggregated their thing. Just a little quick tip for everybody. If you're told that you need a subscription, just Google the title, and some other websites aggregated it. That's the way of internet news aggregation anymore. Inflation is a product of poor regulation and the way private banks balance their books. Well, that's part of it. A lot of the big inflation we've got is monetary policy, and the free fall economies of lots and lots of new currency issued. Calgary, Alberta, Reuters. Canada's first emissions reduction roadmap relies heavily on oil and gas sector to help Ottawa reach its 2030 climate goal. But there's still a big gap between what industry and government say are achievable cuts. Oil and gas in Canada's highest polluting sector accounted for 26% of total emissions. If Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's Liberal government is to meet its climate target of reducing overall emissions 40 to 45% below 2005 levels by 2030, the oil and gas industry will need to make drastic cuts. Big cuts everywhere. A lot of this, honestly, and I alluded to it, is tips from Clyde. Oh, the perks. Oh, I missed what was that about? Sorry. Everything in line with the WEF agenda. It is aligning with this WEF agenda. And it's hard. Okay, so what's really tough is, we get these alliances. Why is this alliance a thing? Well, yeah, here's the World Economic Forum for Jagmeet. Here's World Economic Forum for Justin Trudeau. Here's World Economic Forum for Chrystia Freeland. These people aren't opposed to each other. You got to understand this. And if we get what's his nuts, Jean Charest in the Conservative Party, well, we're just full WEF. We've gone full WEF across the entire government. That's how that works. What their goals are, I mean, they've stated their goals. They wanna control everything. They want a plutocracy, as Chrystia Freeland criticized them about until she joined them. Unbelievably. My big question is, okay, so Vladimir Putin was a young global leader, right? So just bear with me. Vladimir Putin, young global leader for a long time. The war breaks out. So he, rewind a little bit. He, in a few of the meetings for the World Economic Forum, had a little bit scathing words to say about what their agenda was. And then he invades Ukraine, after which the World Economic Forum deletes any mention of Vladimir Putin from their website, their YouTube channel, from all of their sources, right? The question is that what they wanted? Did they want that to happen? Or was Putin like not a part of this? Questions. Because honestly, all of the Ukraine situation and the war propaganda and all of that stuff is right in line with what the WEF wants. So I don't know what the angle is there. I don't know the big picture. I'm only sussing out little bits of what's happening. So I'm not claiming to know everything. I'm just saying that look at these interesting things and asking some interesting questions. So like, is it a case that this is along the lines of what they wanted, or is this a case of no, they actually had a falling out? You know, Putin the Schwab. Putin. There's a joke there. I know. Putin the Schwab. You gotta watch where you're Putin the Schwab. You don't want to get Schwabbed. You never know where that thing's been. That's what I gotta say about that. But yeah, that's the World Economic Forum, and they've been talking about climate change and all of this stuff for a long time. This has been on their back burner until the epidemic thing came about, and they're like, holy cow, we gotta jump on that one. And then good old Schwabi decided, hey, we're gonna make this great reset happen in 2019. And he had a book ready, already printed and ready to go for the day that news came out. Interesting that, is it not? Interesting indeed. Now, another thing that's been talked about recently, and talked about a lot, and here's the thing. Sorry, I'm drinking this soda stream. Gets me burping a lot. A thing that's been talked about, and I have friends that support this. I don't support this, but I have friends that support this. What do we have here? EDM, thanks for the super chat. Pooty. I like that. I'm just gonna call him Pooty from now on. Pooty saying he ain't having none of this from the Schwab mob. Yeah, is that the case? Is he totally nuh-uh? Or was there an actual like parting of ways? Did they have a split? But Pooty, I like that. My God, people though, like people are losing their mind over this stuff. Like, I get it. World leaders do bad stuff, and they're like, there's all kinds of stuff. But like, I'm not gonna change my gravy and cheese fries. It's still Putin. It's still poutine. Sorry, I'm not gonna virtue signal. Anyway, what I'm getting to on this one, and this is a popular topic, especially in my generation and then the generation below mine, the Zoomers, as they're called, Generation Z, which I think might be changing after this. There you go. Yes, Tyler, you got into exactly what I was talking about. universal basic income. And Fox, thanks for the super chat with the googly eyes, the super sticker. Thank you for that. Basic income is a hot topic these days. And you have a lot of people in the Zoomer generation. I've what was it? Elon Musk even. You think he wouldn't be for this, but well, whatever. He's his own dude. Basic income. He says that at some point automation is going to replace everybody. Now you're going to have a need, or you're going to replace a lot of the workforce, and you're going to have a lot of people just doing nothing, and there's going to be no economy for them, and they're just going to need basic income to survive. UBI sounds good, but it's a massive trap. See, here we go. So this is an interesting one, right? Because there are well-intended people who are actually advocating for this, right? I fall in the camp of back when welfare was being argued as a trap, a poverty trap, by Milton Friedman and Thomas Sowell in the US. And that's kind of where I'm at on that, but it gets deeper than that. Clyde, who's going to pay for it? Whose tax dollars? Well, this is what this article gets into here. Basic income, who pays? Probably not you. Well, is that so? How to pay for basic income in Canada? Who pays? Probably not you. Well, see, this is the class warfare thing, the classic Marxist talking point. So a lot of people that talk about the Scandinavian countries that do have social programs that work, one thing that they don't want to leave into that equation is, and I'm talking about the Bernie Sanders types, right? So like Bernie Sanders had a lot of appeal to a lot of people that are a lot of them economically illiterate, and that's nothing wrong with people if you just don't understand how things work, and that's fine. I'm not cutting people up. I don't want to call people stupid or anything like that, because these ideas at face value, they sound great, but the thing is, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. That's just the way it's been. And that's how a lot of these isms get people into cultural revolutions. And then you end up with a lot of starvation. China, Soviet Union, all these things, right? So they come with a lot of good intentions. And if you're dead, you won't have to pay for UBI. Well, so for a lot of people that think this is a good idea, it's a big step to go from, we're just giving people money, to everybody's dead, right? So like that's a big step. So how do we get there? How is it that we get there? And so yeah, it gets into the basic economics of it. And yeah, again, I was getting into the class warfare thing. The class warfare thing is, we're gonna you're not gonna pay for it, but the successful countries that have social safety nets, they don't get the big business people to pay for them. And this is what I was getting at. Countries like the Scandinavian countries that are successful in this, they have high taxation rates within their working populations, but it's not big corporations that are paying for this. It's not wealthy people that are paying for this. They're exempt from these schemes, right? And a lot of these Scandinavian countries is where a lot of economic migrants are currently going to, and it's becoming a big problem now. And a lot of them are saying, well, maybe we need to rethink this thing, because there's a lot of people that never paid into it and are not paying into it that are collecting on it now. And these are the same arguments. You're going to see them time and time again anytime this is implemented anywhere. And like I said, I'm not cutting up anybody who thinks that who wants to explore these ideas, but then let's explore them and explain why they're not actually great ideas, right? So here's, if your money comes from a paycheck, you likely won't pay for it. Well, everybody's money comes from a pay. How are you defining a paycheck? So are you, basically, there's a dirty capitalist. If you make your money from capital investment, You're going to be the ones paying. You're not going to be the ones paying in this. People who are just minions of corporate finance or whatever the talking point is. We can find basic income without taxing vast majority of Canadians while encouraging economic growth. Although there are many ways to find basic income, we propose to pay for it with contributions from our financial sector, fewer tax breaks for large companies, and fewer subsidies for the wealthiest. Well, I'll tell you what, that sounds great. That sounds fantastic until you read an article like this. Money drain. Canadian families and entrepreneurs are fleeing for better climes. People are leaving the country because of tax burdens, because of fears of bank accounts being frozen. This is the same thing that happened in Venezuela. They said, we're taking all the resources and we're going to redistribute them. People with money got out. So what do you do? What do you do in your situation here where net cost of basic income, $51 billion, like a year? That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Anyway, $51 billion a year is a huge, huge way to go, right? To fund this operation. And they say contributions from our financial sector, so people who just make their money on finances, is going to be $15 billion. That is the most liquid money to get out of the country immediately anyway. If the financial sector's tax burden, like i.e. investment broker, whatever investment, financial sector, they say, okay, now your tax burden is $15 billion a year. There's gonna be a lot of them just leaving. They'll find tax havens to get their money out. Fewer tax breaks for large companies. What tax breaks? We have some of the lowest corporate tax rate in North America. Why? So we can have companies in Canada. This is one argument that I never understood from my American counterparts that would argue for, or I'd even have contemporary friends here in Canada that say, when the American politicians are saying we need a lower corporate tax rate, and they'd say, well, how could they have lower corporate tax rate? That's terrible. Do you understand that corporate tax rate is like 16% in Canada, where it's like in excess of like 25% in America? Yeah, no, we have lower corporate tax rates, so companies stay in Canada. I mean, demographic wise and stuff, it's not really that much else except low tax rates. So you tax them more, they're gonna leave. That essentially is what's gonna happen. Fewer subsidies for the wealthiest. Again, they'll move their wealth. There's a big difference, and people don't understand this, is that there's a difference between income and wealth. So like your income is how much you make per year in liquid cash, right? Liquid cash that you pay your bills with and stuff like that. Wealth is a different thing. Wealth is like the accumulation. If you were to sell off all your assets, how much is that worth? But most of the time it's tied up into assets, tied up into capital, it's tied up into businesses, things like that. You're not just gonna liquidate your assets every year to pay your tax bill, because that's what they're asking for here. Fewer subsidies for the wealthiest. Okay, fewer subsidies. I'm not for subsidizing rich people or rich businesses. If you're doing well, that's fine. So we can find common ground there. But at the same time, let's have a clear, concise difference here between wealthiest and people who make the most per year. They want to run you dry. Well, that's what it'll take to have one of these basic income plans. So what do we have here? An introduction to a basic income plan that can win an election. There's no question that we can afford a basic income in Canada. Well, there is a question. You just you didn't sum that up right here. You didn't sum that up at all. But now you're stating this there is no question that we can afford it. $51 billion is not something I think we can afford. And I think there's a lot of argument to say that, no, we can't afford that. Not only that, what they're arguing for is $2,000 a month, essentially. If we gave $2,000 a month to every Canadian citizen, you would get this net benefit immediately, where everybody's got more cash to spend. And then the cash is diluted, because where you get the money, we don't have $51 million in our coffers to just give away. We have to borrow that money or print it. And likely we're going to print it. So what does that do? It dilutes the currency, and it just makes it less valuable. So then you're going to see a massive inflation. There, you said it right there. Inflation. You're going to have a massive amount of inflation that'll hit the market. It'll hit the market. It'll take a minute, but it'll hit hard. And if you just keep printing, $24,000 ain't that much money. No, $24,000 isn't that much money. But if you give it to every single person, you're setting $24,000 a year is now zero, is the new zero. Come on, Clyde. That doesn't sound like a positive attitude. Don't be a ruiner. Am I being the universal basic income ruiner? Maybe I am. Anyway, what they're saying here in billions, total spending of all levels of government, net cost of basic income. Okay. I agree the government spends too much money. I agree that the government spends way too much money, and they should not be spending that much money. So I think with the UBI people, this is where I have agreement with them. Now, I want to pull something up, because this is UBI Works is a Twitter account that followed me. So I followed them back, and I've been keeping an eye on what their mission is here for a universal basic income. And like I said, I'm not ripping on people. I'm not the type to be like, you're stupid or whatever. No, like, people believe in this stuff, but people believed in communism. People believed in a lot of things that I don't agree will pan out, and I don't, and in this case, I don't think will pan out. But let's have a look at some of the things that they say here for UBI. Is this gonna be blasting loud? I'm not sure. No, not too bad. Oh, it's just music anyway. Hopefully it's not copyrighted music. Anyway, what are they saying? Most Canadians support basic income. Who says that? There are a lot of people who support it. Don't get me wrong. There are a lot of people that support it. But who pays for it? Probably not you. If your money comes from a paycheck, you likely won't pay for UBI. We can fund a basic income without taxing most Canadians while growing the economy. Well, who are you going to tax for it? And that's the problem. Like I said, if you're not taxing Canadians immediately, what you do, there's externalities that will occur here. And the externalities will be that businesses will leave. And businesses leaving means fewer jobs for Canadians. That's a tax. You're taxing the Canadians by making jobs go away. If businesses have to spend more money, if they stay, they'll have less ability to hire people. Funny thing about stuff like this, they ask general questions like, do you think everyone should have a livable income? People think it's a livable wage, not UBI. Okay, yeah, no, that's fair. So that might be how they can get a lot of people on board with it, or at least bump their statistics on how many people support it. But don't get me wrong, there are a lot of people that are illiterate to economic stuff, and they do support this kind of thing. Look at the groundswell for Bernie Sanders. And I have a lot of sympathy for Bernie supporters. I don't think that their economics are good, but I do have a lot of sympathy because I think a lot of people that follow this channel would empathize with a lot of the things that the Bernie Sanders supporters have to say, especially the disenfranchisement with governments and the way things have been going. So I think this is why this kind of dialogue makes a lot of sense and why we should be having these conversations and not vilifying the people that you disagree with. I don't agree with that. I agree that, you know, it's okay to have healthy debate about these things without throwing insults around. And Twitter's not the best place for it. Let me tell you, the internet, maybe Facebook. I've been off Facebook forever, but I know a lot of people like to cram this stuff on Facebook. My favorite part is when government media claims a statement without backup data, and some liberals would trust them over contradicting statements with numbers or proof. I know. It is. My favorite, my personal favorite is the some say, this is a reporter trick. Some say this thing that I just made up just on the spot right now. And it makes it sound like you have reports of people saying a thing when you don't actually. But let's keep going with this thing. Without the music, of course. Here's how. We're going to grow tomatoes with this young, nice-looking girl on the street. Contributions from Canadians' financial sector. Okay, so they're just giving you the same stats. Fewer tax breaks for large companies. Same stats, just on with pretty graphics. Fewer subsidies for the wealthiest. Look at that yacht. He's not going to get a yacht anymore. Get the yacht guy. I got nothing wrong. I got nothing against people having yachts. Even this dillweed. Get your yacht, Hassan. Get your yacht. No problem. Trending on Twitter. Oh, he probably said something. Yeah, if you don't know who that guy is, you lucky devil. No joke. What's this? Got it. Time to get out of this demoralized state. Listening to Clyde's laugh now should feel better soon. That's too funny. That's too funny. So what's their plan? We've created basic income plan that won't cost working Canadians. Well, it might cost you $2,000 a month to get $2,000 a month. Yeah, so zero-sum game maybe. The end product is that. A plan that could fit 1.6 million, what was that? Could lift 1.6 million families out of poverty. Wait a second. Do we have 1.6 million families in Canada in poverty? I think that's wrong. I don't think we have 1.6 million families in Canada that are in poverty. I don't think that's a correct statement. I think that's a little. Yes, we do. Really? In Canada? Oh, okay. Make life more affordable for 7.4 million working Canadians. Sounds about right. So, Clyde, they can offer UBI, but they cannot lower the cost of living. Curious. No? Yeah, right? Right? Well, that's the thing. I was saying in my video about their ecological plan, their 2030 plan. The 2030 plan is to do all this stuff, and we're going to have somehow we're going to make it through economically. But they've had a bureaucracy for making houses affordable. How's that going? Not great. It's not great at all. And in fact, it's probably exacerbating the whole problem itself. Kind of like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac in America, exacerbating their housing bubble and making it worse. That's too much. Too much. And help all Canadians in times of transition. Transition? Transition from what? Oh, okay, like transition from one part of the economy to another. I can see that. That makes sense. It's a solid and wonderful package deal, but it's detrimental to everybody. They want everyone totally dependent upon the government. In this way, they have more control over you, in my opinion. I'd agree with that. The one source I got so far. What is this source? Basic statistics about poverty in Canada. Oh, Cracker, you're the best. Here we go. So we've got basic statistics. 1 in 7 or 4.9 million people in Canada live in poverty. What? What are their poverty and demographics, marginalized communities? Really? This is the data you got for me, Cracker? Poverty is sexist? Oh, man. Some members of society are particularly susceptible to the effects of poverty. The following statistics suggest groups are particularly likely to experience poverty. Is this going to be like some like wealth inequality thing where it turns out women on average choose to like have time off of work and raise kids, so that puts them at a lower number overall? So then they say, oh, it's, or they choose careers that work out for their lifestyle more. 28% of the, so this is just like racial equality stuff. Child poverty. Edmonton, 1 in 8. Okay, I'm gonna have to go over this. There's a lot to sift through. When you get woke language in a thing, I'm trying to find actual source, but it's a bit harder. Again, this is probably what they used. I'm not saying that that's bad data, like the data from it, but yeah, there's a lot of opinion in that, if that makes sense. Read the full plan at UBI Works How to Pay, and that's this website. Whoops, not this one. That's this one. Okay, so currently, net cost of basic income is $51 billion. Gross cost of basic income is $81 billion. Where did we get that? Offsets from federal provincial programs is $30 billion. That's how the net cost of basic income is $51 billion. So this is from offsets from federal and provincial programs. Okay. I'm guessing that those federal and provincial programs are like other welfares that currently exist. The Parliamentary Budget Office estimates that gross cost of $81 billion in 2022 for guaranteed basic income, modeled after the Ontario Basic Income Pilot. This program would guarantee all Canadians aged 18 to 64 an income of at least 75% of the low income measure, LIM, a common measure of the Canadian poverty line, or a basic income of about $18,300 for individuals and $25,900 for couples. This basic income would be reduced by 50 cents per dollar of employment income, but does not impact pensions. Wait, the basic income would be reduced by 50 cents per dollar of employment income. Okay, so here's where it comes in, right? So you're going to reduce your basic income based on how much you make. So there's going to be a point in which there's this threshold line where if you make any more, all of your income goes away. You know what I mean? There is that threshold where if I work any harder or do any more work or make my business bigger or whatever, then I won't. It's a zero sum game, because the harder I work, the more they take away from this other thing. So that's a big problem with welfare, right? So this is what gets people in the welfare trap, is they get on welfare, and then it becomes a subsistence lifestyle, right? It's enough to get by, but it's not very comfortable. But human beings are resilient creatures. Like, no kidding. Resilient creatures. And human beings can make do in some horrible atmosphere and horrible circumstances. But let me tell you what, having refrigerated food and electricity and shelter and all that stuff is a pretty good condition compared to, the natural world. You know what I mean? So the welfare trap is a system where you get put into you have welfare, you collect welfare, and then you could go out and earn money, but at a certain point, if you make enough money, then they remove your welfare from you, and then you end up with less in the end. Or you end up just doing all this work for the same benefit of just staying home and collecting welfare. And this is a problem. This is a problem. Now, what proponents of this plan would say is, this is people claiming that people on welfare are lazy. And that's not what I'm claiming. That's not what I'm claiming at all. What I'm claiming is these people are pragmatic. I mean, it's pragmatism to look at the situation. What do we got here? That's going to happen to you with the 2,000 is greater than $2,100 paycheck difference. Believe me, it won't affect higher ups. Yeah, it's not going to affect higher ups. See, it's the thing. So if people are being pragmatic, they're not being lazy. That's the wrong way to look at it. We're not looking at people being lazy. You're looking at it like, okay, well, I've got a couple of kids at home. The government's going to pay me to stay home, or I go get a job and I don't get to see my kids. Now, I might make a few $100s more a month if I do the, 8 hours a day working at a job, or I could just not do that. Or what people will do is they'll get a job under the table, and then they'll work under the table. That is also a thing. So they just won't claim that, so they'll collect the welfare, and then they'll work under the table as well, which is cheating the system. And yeah, these are things that really do happen. It's not unheard of. It's definitely not unheard of. It says $80 billion cost of Canada's poverty every year. Total cost. And then $1.5 billion goes to incarceration, I'm guessing. Okay, they're just breaking down what all of these things cost. Okay, this is the sign up. There was something else interesting on their Twitter page that I wanted to show. This is a lot of people happy about UBI. I don't know why. Oh, of course, Christy Freeland's all for it. So she brought this up as well. And this is an argument from these global leader types. And it's not a new argument. It's not a new argument at all. Because this argument came up when people were leaving the farms because of automation in the farms. We're talking like, well over 100 years ago. And people were leaving the farms because of automation. And people were worried, like, oh my God, there's going to be chaos. There's all these idle hands and people aren't going to be working. They're not going to have anything to do. No, there's like, yeah, Christy Freeland, evil, no joke. Yeah, I believe that. They found things to do, and new economies sprung up because of it. And there was goods and services that came out of it. And look what the production was. We went from an agrarian society where 80% of the population works in the farms to a society where people started making businesses that made widgets and dongles and doodads, and we all got addicted to those widgets, dongles, and doodads. And now we have the information age. So like, things have a way of working themselves out. Things have a way, and yeah, they're growing pains for sure. Definitely are when big things happen, like this fourth industrial revolution that's gonna, the AI that's gonna pamper all our bottoms and don't believe it. I'll believe it when I see it. I don't think everyone's gonna get replaced by automation like they think. But even if they do, like I said, people will find other things to do. So where are some of these other ones? Who pays? Probably not you. This is their biggest slogan. Who pays? Probably not you. One of the ones that I saw in here, and here's other people advocating for it. So, you know, you get celebrities saying, yay, Tim Hortons testing automated drive-thrus. These automated drive-thrus are not a product of this is the future. They're a product of, we don't hire kids anymore. Don't you see? We have minimum wage laws for kids. Kids should be working for tiny amounts of money. Like, no joke. And sorry, kids, but when I was a kid, I did. I worked for a tiny bit a bit of money in a part-time job that didn't last very long because it's just summer holidays or whatever. But this is how you get kids in the door. But instead, what we've got now is not enough people working in these industries. So we import people from all over the world. And then we have grown adult people working at entry-level positions in restaurants all over the place. And because it's become so expensive, they're replacing them with automation. And then you have idle kids everywhere. You see kids, an entire generation of unhirables. You know what I mean? And the result, the answer to the solution is just pay them all to stay home. I'm sorry, but this is just not well thought out. It's just not well thought out. And like, again, I feel for people who buy into this. Okay, they're really, really selling that one. Here's Dr. Evil telling you how it's all good. I don't know. Where do they get these guys? He just came out of his lair. He looks like a mix between Franklin the Turtle and Dr. Evil. Like the two of them got together and had a genetic experiment. Anyway. Oh God, how do we get on these tangents? Anyway, I can't find it right now. Here's the lady that tabled the bill. Anyway, this is bill 233, where they're going to be talking about UBI and making it Turtle Man. Yeah, there you go, making it a possibility for this to take place. And like I said, well-intentioned people have great things in mind. Not this one. That's not a well-intentioned person right there. But geez, wow, their Twitter is active. I thought I would be able to find this quick. Anyway, what it was that they were talking about, here's more automation. Again, this is a product of not hiring kids to do pizza shops. I worked as a delivery driver when I first got my driver's license for a Pizza Hut. It sucked. I spent almost as much money on the fuel because it was at a time that fuel was going up and I had a crappy car. I made a few bucks, but yeah, I didn't pay a lot. But that was the thing. But now, you know, like you're advocating for, you know, grown adults to work in these industries, entry-level industry, you know, and no, I'm not cutting up anybody who works in these industries, but you got to understand, you work in entry level. This is a stepping stone to get where you need to go. And I commend people for all the work that they do, because working and having a job is nothing to scoff at. Anybody who works should, you know, be praised for that and respected. And I'm always very polite. I'd never be a Karen at a restaurant or anything like that. Anyway, that's going a little far with it. But they are, you got to understand, they're entry level positions. And entry level means this is where you start, and then you move forward. And then you make room for other people to come in and fill these entry level positions. But this is just the way it goes. But anyway, one of the things, because I can't get to it, they're not automating basketball. Sorry, we're not going to be watching that. This is just showing off how robots are. Oh man, no one's gonna watch that. Okay, yeah, I mean it's a cool little thing, but you're not selling me on AI is getting absurdly more accurate than humans. Oh, this is too funny. Is that LeBron? It's the Terminator. It's the Terminator. He's coming for you. He's gonna get you. When he reaches singularity, look out. Look out, LeBron. They're coming for you. Well, yeah, it's Wally. It's Wally. Oh, too funny. Too funny. Oh, Satoshi's in the business of finance. Anyway. Oh, look at this clown. Of course he wants basic income. His platitudes with his mask. Anyhow, what they were trying to get at, and I obviously I'm not finding the link to it, was they had a few articles going, and it was talking about CERB. So the Canadian, what was the CERB? Anyone get the CERB acronym? The COVID Emergency Relief Benefit. I think that's what it was. CERB. So CERB was given out, and they were saying, look at all the great things people did when they were on CERB. This is just like Canadian Emergency Response Benefit. Ah, I was so close. Oh, so close. But yeah, CERB was basically welfare for all for a while, but not only for all. It was welfare. It was welfare for people labeled. What was the label? It was non-essential and essential. There was this non-essential and essential people at one point in Canada, and that was dirty. That was such a dirty way to handle the situation. But yeah, I remember. So anyone deemed non-essential was given a check and said, stay home, you're not essential. And boy, oh boy, did that not go over well with a lot of people. Now, I was considered essential. If you worked at a liquor store, you were considered essential. Why? When you're in a health pandemic, that liquor stores are open and that's essential. But, you know, going to your office all by yourself is not. Anyway, in the beginning, some of this stuff made sense, but prolonged it didn't. And basically, CERB went on for a good amount of time. Anyway, this UBI Works Twitter page was showing things about all the great things people did when they were on CERB, and how because of that, there was people that made their own businesses, started their own entrepreneurship and all this other stuff while they were on CERB. And if they had UBI, then they'd be free to do all these things. This person got an education while they were on CERB, which is unusual because a lot of universities shut down. So correspondence. Dude, they needed people drunk to buy their BS, I suppose. I was nervous about Corona when it first came out, like when it first happened. I was reading the news from China, and over here, the media was like, nah, don't worry about it. Because I guess because some conservatives in the United States raised an eyebrow about it. So they're like, they like it, we hate it. You know what I mean? And it was during that whole like in Italy, they had a Hug a Chinaman campaign, which was just ridiculous and racist and all that. But yeah, China lied, people died. But so here's the thing. I was worried about it. I was nervous about it. So I gave up drinking. And I was like, okay, well, I got to be around for my kids. So if I get sick, the best thing for me to do is just have a healthy lifestyle. And I was like, I was up on all my vitamins, and I was like walking and stuff, and I was doing all the things I needed to do to stay healthy, right? Because like my kids were my number one thing that I was thinking of. Love you, buddy, but you don't know what you're talking about here. About the corona thing, or about the CERB thing? I'm not sure what you're talking about. Anyway, I personally stopped drinking. I stopped doing anything remotely unhealthy for the time, just to get over it, or just to get over whatever thing was gonna happen. And then it turned out to be whatever. We all remember what happened with Corona. But anyway, the ads on this were, all these people were doing great things with CERB, therefore we should have it. Now, like, I know some of the people that were on CERB, and a lot of people UBI now. Anyway, so a lot of people that were on CERB, and I put this question out on Twitter, and I asked, I'm curious to find out how many people stopped collecting CERB because they had work available and they went back to work, as opposed to how many people just waited it out until it was cut off and then got a job. Because I know for a lot of people, the latter was true. The latter was the case, that a lot of people waited. Clyde, this never made sense to anyone with an economics education and critical thinking background. I never drank the Kool-Aid. No, exactly. No. So, but it's reminiscent. So I used to live in a ski town when I was younger because I liked snowboarding, and I worked for all my ski passes and all that stuff, and I worked during all the ski seasons, and I just go when I could. But I knew a lot of people that would get summer jobs and then, hint, lay me off so I could be on unemployment through the winter. And it wouldn't be the most comfortable. They wouldn't be able to like hang out and do a lot of stuff because they didn't have a lot of money, but they'd be able to take the entire winter season off and go skiing or snowboarding, right? And that was the MO for a lot of people. So I'm not naive on how people treat these government systems. They'll abuse them. There's going to be a lot of abuse, and then there's going to be a lot of people who legitimately need them, but they're the ones that aren't so great at figuring out all the red tape, and they're always the ones that end up getting hurt the most anyway. It's always the people who are good at scamming the systems that get through all the cracks, and then and it's the people that need it the most that end up getting hurt. And so these systems, I think UBI is a way for them to like make it more broad and just give it to everybody, I guess. You're just going to find more people working under the table. Because I'll tell you what, I knew somebody when CERB came out. They worked at a big box store. I'm not going to say which one. It was a big Canadian one. And they had a job there putting stuff together, right? And then when the Corona thing happened and the CERB came about, they were laid off and then went back under the table to do the same job and got paid more because there was no taxes involved for the company. So sorry if you're just joining now and you don't know what CERB is. That's the Canadian. Oh, sorry. It's the Corona. Oh, what was it in the chat? Somebody help me out. I always forget this an acronym. This acronym is the Corona Emergency relief benefit. Was that it? I believe that's what it was. Yes. So yeah. But that Canadian Emergency Response Benefit, sorry, that's what it was. And it was for like a year and a half. It was a year and a half. So I knew somebody who took full advantage of it, and didn't necessarily need it, and then wrote it out until it was done. And then the day it ran up, had a job, and that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. And I think UBI won't be any different. Just what you're going to find is a lot more people working under the table with UBI. I think that is what's going to happen. So this is where they need to have IDs and digital currencies to make sure that people can't make it harder to work under the table. But as long as housing is expensive, you'll find people, and people are clever. People are they have the ingenuity. You can't discount people's ingenuity, right? Little history lesson. Why is it that medical benefits are part of people's jobs? Anybody know the answer to that? The reason why medical benefits are part of people's jobs is because during the war, there was wage restrictions put on employment, because there was tons and tons of people that were gone to war, and there was it was more lucrative for businesses to pay higher wages to get the people who were still in the economy to come and work for them. So what response for this, some businesses, they lobbied the government and said, we need to put wage restrictions on so people can't come in and undercut us by paying more workers more during this wartime. So businesses were like, okay, our hands are tied. What can we do to get people to come work for our business instead of that other business? Because there's a shortage of workers. So what did they do? They said, we'll pay your medical bills. Come work for us and we'll pay medical bills. We can't pay you any more because of this law that came out, but we'll pay your medical bills. And then that became a thing that was attached to people's. We at war? No, I'm talking World War II, man, like way back. And this was the same thing in the United States. Wage controls. They had wage and price controls during the Second World War in Canada and the United States. And this is what led to people's work benefits being, medical benefits tied to your work became a thing. And that wasn't a thing before World War II. It was negotiate your wages. But then, as soon as you have these restrictions in the marketplace, so the government steps in and they say, okay, we're going to do this. Now, I like to look at an economy, and I like the idea of economics. See, if you think about ecology, like ecosystems are these vast, complex systems where you have organisms and plant life and all these things that work in harmony with each other. Well, they didn't all work in harmony in the beginning. They all had to compete for their pecking order in the ecology, right? And then what happens is you've got a balance after millennia of it being like that. And you throw a goldfish into a pond and it upsets the whole thing. You throw a frog in there, you throw a rabbit in there. You know what I mean? We've seen this all over the world where you have ecologies that get messed up because you have these new things introduced. You have invasive species of plants introduced into areas, and they take over and they upset the balance, and then all kinds of things will happen, and it takes a long time for this all to equalize again. You need like a big boom bust in an ecology, and this happens in economies. Economies work almost identical to this. You have the marketplace where people are actors and buying and engaging with each other and doing all this stuff. And then you come in and the government puts controls on certain things. It's like throwing a frog into this ecosystem. It's like throwing goldfish into that pond over there. It's like throwing up a bunch of rabbits into this outback over here. And what happens is, what's up, saltines? What's happening? What happens is you upset the market economy, and then everything needs to find a balance. And you find that the ingenuity is just amazing of what people will find. And if you throw UBI into this mix, you're just going to have an entire industry of people finding new ways to work under the table and not have their UBI taken away. You know what I mean? Because as soon as you make above a certain amount of money, you're gonna have your UBI restricted, right? It said so even in this plan, right? So after so much, then 50 cents on every dollar that you earn will be taken away from your UBI. So you like, there's probably a threshold, right? And then at a point, every dollar made means less over here. So okay, well, I'll make this much legally, then the UBI won't get taken away, and then the rest of it will be like in some other arrangement, right? And if they have a digital currency, then it'll be okay, well, I'll work for rent. You know what I mean? Something like that, especially with a high cost housing market the way it is today. Which is funny with Texas being touted as the big gun state. Oh, I'm not. I don't know what you guys are yakking about in there. Constitutional carry. Oh, big. Yeah. Not a lot of gun talk on this channel. I don't know enough about gun laws in Canada. I mean, I know they're so restricted. It's insane. Anyone got a frog? Water's boiling. It is. Barter system. Okay, so the barter system's an interesting one. And it's an interesting one because it doesn't work for a lot of reasons. And I mean, some people in small communities do have a barter system. But Dr. Walter Block had a great analogy for the barter system. And what he called it was the double coincidence of wants, right? You have to have two people that have this double coincidence of want where and he says that you have to have a pickle wanting chicken farmer who meets up with a chicken wanting pickle farmer, right? So it's this double coincidence where the guy who farms chickens but wants pickles meets up with the guy who farms pickles and wants chickens. But because that doesn't work out, that's not a normal thing that's going to work out on the regular, unless you have an arrangement with you know what I mean? Then what you'll end up having to do is go around and find the commodity that other person wants, so that in order to foster trade, right? And if you're going around and you're buying all these things that other people want to engage in the barter system, what ends up naturally occurring is all the parties will find some sort of commodity in the marketplace that is not of high enough value, at a considerably low value, but everybody can agree is a valuable thing, and set kind of a price point on that particular item. And it's a really interesting thing because we call that currency. And it doesn't matter what market, barter system market you end up doing this in, something will become a currency. Some sort of market will become a currency. There's a really good book called, from Jeffrey Tucker called, it's a Jetsons World. I think the subtitle was Free Market Miracles and Government Mistakes or something like that. But there was an article, so there was a chapter in the book where they talks about the Halloween economy, and he describes the kids after they've collected all their candies and how they end up economizing trading their candies afterwards, and how what the most interesting thing is the Tootsie Roll is the candy that nobody really likes but nobody hates. Like, it's still a good candy, but there's so many of them, and they're in such small denominations, such small pieces, that it ends up being the currency for this entire exchange. So like, people would trade, okay, I'll trade you 4 Tootsie Rolls for that, but the person doesn't want the Tootsie Rolls. They just know that that will be traded for other things over there. And it was, yeah, it's an interesting thing. I dork out on this economic stuff, so that's kind of something that if you're in these live streams, you kind of get to understand about. But yeah, that really good book, actually. I'll pull that one up, and I think it's available for free on the Mises website. Jeffrey Tucker. Oops. Jeffrey Tucker, it's... Geez, typos tonight. It's a Jetsons World. Of course I spelled that wrong. Oh, and they have the audiobook version. And the book version. Where are we? Mises. Yeah, you guys can check out the book for free. It's a Jetsons World. Private Miracles and Public Crimes. That's it. This is such a fun read. I really enjoyed this book. Clyde, they're not talking about violence, only about the Second Amendment. Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, no. Yeah, definitely kudos for all those Second Amendment people. Because keep it, or you lose it like we did in Canada. And you don't want that. Yeah, not good. Because then they come up with arbitrary rules where they just... Today we're making this was this legal firearm now illegal, and all of a sudden law-abiding citizens are now criminals because they own a thing that, and they don't even make the announcements. You have to follow it as a Canadian. It's really scary, actually, what they do. But yeah, check out this book. I can't recommend it more. It's a Jetsons World. Private Miracles and Public Crimes. Really good book. Well written. Every chapter is short and very entertaining. There's a really good one called Praise the Lard. And it completely changed my mind about vegetable oil and why lard is actually better deep frying. It's not a condiment. A deep frying tool? Oil versus lard. What would you call that? A tool? No. Medium? A medium of fry. I'll have a medium fry. Thanks. But what else was I going to cover tonight? Because yeah, I got to the big ones that I wanted to talk about. One last thing, I think, before we call it a night, Clyde Love. You sorry for chatting. No. It's all good. It's all good. I get distracted by the chat too much. But it's fun. And this is why I do the Friday night streams, because it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy chatting with you guys. Canada just saw the biggest Q4 for residents permanently leaving since the 1970s. What do you think is common between the late 1970s and current day in Canada? Can anyone guess in the chat what is a common thing between those two times? Anybody? I'm sure somebody will guess it. But Canadian residents, so Canadians are packing up and leaving at a fast rate. I'm going to make this bigger because it's tiny. At a fast rate during a traditionally slow period, Statistics Canada, StatsCan, data shows emigration, so emigration being the opposite. Okay, you guys guessed it. You guessed it. Yeah, it's the Trudeaus. Trudeaus, both in the late 70s and current day. Wow, what a coincidence. The two biggest times for people emigrating out of Canada, leaving the country. And this is a trend. This is definitely a trend that's happening where people are packing up and GTFOing. the act of leaving permanently jumped in 2021. The past year showed modest gains, rising to the highest level in half a decade. The fourth quarter is what sticks out, though, showing a sudden acceleration. Canada saw the largest Q4 volumes of residents leaving since the 1970s. Canadian residents had the largest Q4 outflow since the 1970s. Canadians left the country at a swift pace. In a quarter, they usually don't plan a move. StatsCan estimates 16,901 emigrants in Q4 2021, up 215% from a year before. Annual growth doesn't mean much due to the outbreak's base effect. Don't let the distortion allow you to dismiss the whole trend, though. The number of Canadians estimated to have left and severed residency ties with Canada for the fourth quarter. Interesting. Yes, this is a trend these days. And I noticed a lot of people, yeah, Music by Candlelight saying we all should. We all should. But that's the thing, right? So this is the brain drain. This is the, well, they call it the brain drain in the third world, right? When people with skills and people with the ability to save up enough cash and get out, those are the ones that would actually make the place a better place to live in the third world. And it's an unfortunate part of emigration in third world countries where people leave instead of sticking around and actually making those countries better. And that could be the case here in Canada, where you have enough people who are tired of, the ideas of if you have grievance with the government, they could just freeze your bank account and get you to shut up and not speak out. Currently they're not going after YouTubers, but we'll see how Bill C-11 pans out. We're not sure how VPNs might get us away from that, or if it ends up benefiting some Canadian YouTubers at the expense of making YouTube a terrible place to browse without a VPN. I'm not sure. But before I lose my voice, because it feels like that's what's happening at the moment, definitely want to say, hey, thanks everybody for hanging out this evening and spending some time with me to go over some of these stories that I couldn't get to in videos throughout the course of the week. Yes, of course, yesterday's video was a mistake on my part. I saw the news. I saw a new study, was like, you know what? This doesn't go with what I was hoping for, but heck, I'm reporting the news. I'm gonna give you guys the news. And I got duped. And so I corrected for that. I definitely did. I corrected for that. Made sure everybody knows what's really up. And love checking out your chats. Your chats are amazing. Thanks everybody for coming out tonight. Gonna take the weekend off. We'll get more stories for you Monday morning. And of course, again, the same little powwow on Friday night. I can't believe a week's gone by already. It still feels like we just had this last week. But definitely hang out. And I know a lot of people are going to be watching this and listening to this afterwards. I hope you enjoyed the long form content. And I enjoyed making it for you guys. I like hanging out and doing these stories for you. So we'll see you in Monday's story. Still not sure what I'll be covering, but we'll see you then. Cheers, everybody.